Hey, how's it going, guys? I've got the Nokia C110 that someone recommended to me, and I do appreciate them for recommending it because it seems like a pretty nice smartphone. It's a locked smartphone, unfortunately, but just because it's locked doesn't mean you can't use it at all. So I paid somewhere around $39 before tax, and you can get this for as low as $35 with, I think, TrackPhone, I believe. So we do have some of the specs here on the side. It mentions it is a 6.3-inch HD plus with a V-notch display, which is just like a little notch up here. It's not bad. Then there's a pretty nice battery life, supposedly. It's running Android 12, and I don't think there's going to be any updates to this. It's just kind of a one-and-done thing. The specs online were a little confusing. Some places it mentioned it had like 4 gigs, but I think the official website or Walmart showed that it had 3 gigs. But unfortunately, Walmart isn't always reliable when it comes to specs, from what I've seen at least. Because I remember getting one smartphone, and it mentioned it had 4 gigs, when in reality it was 3, so yeah, I can't trust it. But I mean, this might have 3 gigs. I mean, I'll take a look in just a moment and confirm. So in here is the phone itself. Okay, looks kind of decent. I mean, it just looks plain, actually, like a Nokia phone. It's made of plastic on the back with some texturized, not rubber, but it's just texturized on the back. And then the camera is protruding a little bit, but it's not bad with the flash underneath. Then there is a wall outlet and a USB-C to USB-A cable. Finally, there's a SIM pin and user guide. Back to the phone. It's not too thick or heavy. On the right side are some of the buttons, which are the volume keys, power button. Then underneath, there's a USB-C port, along with, I believe that's a microphone. I don't know why it's not zooming in properly, but unfortunately, I see a small speaker back here, which means it's probably going to be tinny, and it can be covered in one finger. That's what it's always been with these. On the other side, we have the SIM tray, the SIM and micro SD card slot, and this can be expanded up to 256 gigs. Initially, there's about 32 gigabytes of internal storage, so it's not that much. On the top here is a 3.5mm headphone jack. We got the speakerphone along with the front camera. Then there's that little notch. And taking this out, I don't think there's a screen protector that's pre-installed on here, which is kind of unfortunate. The bezels don't seem too bad. It's not too thick. Just seems a little bit regular. I can bring my thumb all the way across to the other side of the screen. It's a little harder to reach the top and bottom. Would have to adjust my hands around. It's pretty normal for today's day and age. Maybe it's a little bit better than some others because my thumb reaches all the way to the top here pretty easily, actually. Okay, so here's the phone, and one thing that I notice right off the bat is that it doesn't get that bright. That's a really bad sign. This is probably the least brightest screen that I've seen. It is noticeable on video. In person, it's a little bit brighter. I can view the screen now, but I guess when there was sunlight out, I couldn't see it at all. It was pretty bad. But anyways, the show must go on. But that can be a deal breaker, by the way, so something to consider because in today's day and age, there's a lot of good smartphones out there, and I'll show some of them later on in this video, worth checking out. So anyways, there's not too much bloatware, and then out of the box, there's about 23.3 gigs available. Yeah, 23.3 gigs free, so really not that much to play around with. And with the little bit that I've looked at, it's not really too slow or anything, but what I'm really curious to see is how well can it play games, because Nokia has been known for not having great smartphones or great performance on their low-end devices to play games because they usually have a low GPU, but we'll see how it is here. The camera on here is pretty nice, and there's also face unlock, where if I just put my face, it opens up immediately. It does a great job at it, and that's actually quite nice. As for the camera itself, the shutter is pretty fast, and the camera quality is pretty good. This is the front-facing camera, and so, yep, takes less than a second. And then the AI, like, enhanced graphics or whatever it does, it overall comes out pretty nice. I mean, there is some noise, but I can only expect so much. And then the rear camera is even better. Just look at this. It's much more clear to read everything. Look at how clear that is. That's really impressive. I can't forget there's also a USB. So the speaker is tinny as expected. You can watch videos at Full HD 1080p on YouTube. And the good news is that since this is Nokia, you can also watch videos at HD or Full HD on Netflix. Although when I did download a video here to check out this One Piece live action film, it's unfortunately, it doesn't even look like it's in HD. It looks like it's in 480p, which is kind of weird, but it's not uncommon because I've had this happen before. When I go into DRM info, and then down here, I see Widevine level L1. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on right here, just to prove. that I do have the download video quality in high. In terms of performance, it's adequate. I do notice lagging here and there, some hiccups and slowdowns, but it's still usable nonetheless. The specs on here are pretty typical. It's an MT6762V/CA 8-core CPU. I guess it has 8 cores. And then the GPU is a PowerVR Rogue GE8320. What's interesting is that other devices that have a similar specs to this, I mean, this does have 3 gigs of RAM, I believe. As I was saying, the other devices that have similar specs tend to perform a little better than this. So I'm not sure why Nokia's devices aren't that well optimized. First game here is Candy Crush. And it does a decent job, no problems whatsoever. Yeah, it performs very smoothly, so these low-end games will be just fine. Oh, and before I forget, this is the score I got on 3D Mark for the Slingshot Extreme. It's at 470. So I really can't compare it to, I mean, I guess I can see it on here. It's very low, which is to be expected for a device of this caliber. Next game here is Roblox. Let me zoom in, actually. So far, this game is relatively smooth. I mean, I'm noticing some frame rate drops here and there, but it's playable, that's for sure. So really no complaints. The graphics are set to auto, so if I want it to be just a little bit smoother, I can set it to the minimum, but it's not going to do too much. Actually, I'm noticing more frame rate drops. So in combat areas, it might not be playable, but I guess if you're used to playing this, you can kind of decide for yourself. Next game here is SSR Racing, and it's pretty slow. It lags, so it's really not that playable. Again, can only expect so much, but for what it's worth, it's not bad, all things considered. The only thing I'm a little disappointed by is not seeing Widevine level L1 really work on Netflix, where the videos looked like they were at 360 or 480p, and it is noticeable on a 6.3-inch screen like this. Maybe some people might not mind so much. You can probably ignore it, unless if it was like more of a tablet. If you're used to seeing stuff through a tablet or TV, it might not matter so much, but I think to others it will. But this still isn't bad as a secondary phone, because I think that's what this is really meant for. For some people, it will be a main phone, especially for older people, and I think it's not a bad choice. But there is another one, which is the TCL Ion 5 or Ion V. This, I think, performs a lot better than this one, which I would recommend checking out. I do have a video on this. I'll have an annotation up here and like an end screen like video to click on or card to check the full review out for this one. So yeah, otherwise, this is not a bad choice either. And by the way, speaking of battery life, it seems like if this is going to be a secondary phone, don't really have to worry about battery life so much. It'll easily last a day then. I've used this for about 2 hours and it wasn't charged fully, so take that how you will. It's still not bad nonetheless, I would say. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and leave a like if you did find this video helpful, and stay tuned for the next one, because I'm going to be checking out more of these budget devices. Thanks for watching.